Toku Secrets is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Hey everybody, it's Jason from Power Rangers Time Force, and you're watching Toku Secrets Podcast.
Welcome to Toku Secrets. Join us as we journey into the marvelous world of Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, and many other tokusatsu. Get ready for the adventure of a lifetime. It's Morphin time! Link to the Morphin. I'm Nathan Desai, the dazzling adventurer, Boken Silver.
I'm Patrick Allen, I'm Shinken Red.
And I'm Rizwan Merchant, Gokai Red.
And I'm Anthony Davis, also known as Curie Green. And we're Toku Secrets.
Hey guys, welcome to the Toku Secrets podcast, and today we are going to be continuing our journey through Timeranger. We're doing our fourth Mirai Sentai Timeranger podcast, where we're going to be taking a look at case files 33 through 46. We got the whole gang on here. Before we do that, though, just want to wish everybody a happy new year. This is our first recording in 2024. We all hope you guys enjoyed your holidays, and we're looking forward to bringing you guys a lot of new content come 2024. So yeah, that's that about sums that up. We have seen what the new Sentai Boomger looks like, which, I mean, those suits, I mean, people say that they're the worst, but they're not as bad as Battle Fever J's. I'll give them that.
I'll say this. I like the actual, like, ignoring the helmet, the costumes look like F1 racing uniforms, which I kind of dig. And then you look up past the neck and you see...
What's up with the wheel? Like,
I hate those helmets.
Yeah,
those helmets.
Yeah, they're a lot like they're kind of in the same tier as the O-Ranger suits for me, honestly. Where I might put them a peg over the O-Ranger suits, because the O-Ranger suits to me are, it's fine, but then the helmets ruin it. These things, the suits look fine, the helmets just ruin the whole thing.
Yeah. No, I did not like those helmets. It was like O-Ranger and Go-Onzer had a baby.
Hey, the Go-Onzer suits aren't that bad, dude.
No. They took the good part of Go-Onzer with the suit itself.
Okay.
But they put the stupid helmet.
Okay, that makes sense.
Also, the poster, what was the word pun that they had in their poster that we saw?
Coming
like in the
Boone,
sky.
Yeah,
it's like,
okay.
I hope this is giving us the idea this is going to be a modern day Power Ranger, because if it is, I'm watching this crap.
Okay, I gotta say something real quick, Nathan. As many puns as I've thrown at you on the Rail Riders episode, nothing as bad as these Boonazers, Boonzers, or whatever you call them.
Yeah, I know.
I'm still better than them. At least I'm funny. So,
okay, Patrick, you can speak for yourself on that, but okay.
No. We've had fans commenting, saying they love my train puns, and I gotta continue doing them.
Okay, cool. If the fans love it, then we'll keep doing it.
So, Patrick, we've been doing this Power Rangers Rail Riders fan series.
Yeah, I saw that.
I've been putting out so many stupid train puns. And it's been fantastic. And Nathan's been going crazy.
Well, yeah. All right, anyway, we got a lot of Timeranger stuff to cover here. So
it's time for Timeranger.
Stick to the train puns.
All right, we're going to briefly recap all the major stuff that happened in our previous batch of case files. So the Timерangers, they got some arsenal upgrades thanks to Shion, Time Green, doing his thing. He created the Excel Stop, which allows them to move a lot faster. And he also created the Assault Mobile, which is which can become the assault vector. It was called the Electro Booster in Time Force. Then, as for the Domon and Honami dynamic, their relationship kind of took a dark turn. He realized that pursuing a relationship with her would be impossible because of their different time periods. And then he's like, well, I don't care because, I mean, she means a lot to me. But then he realizes that she thinks Ayase is time yellow, which creates a huge dynamic, throws a complete wrench into the whole thing. Tatsuya and Yuri developed some feelings for each other because, they opened up about some of their personal issues, and we got some more backstory on both of them, which you can watch that podcast to get the more idea. But more importantly, and this is the big thing, the Asami Group, that's Tatsuya's dad's company, they unveiled their plan with the Defense Bureau. To combat the Londars, they created this private for-hire army known as the City Guardians. One of them is Naoto Takizawa, who is a former classmate of Tatsuya. And, he grew up poor and he resents Tatsuya for being all happy-go-lucky and wants to reject all of his wealth. And Tatsuya's identity was discovered by Naoto and Tatsuya's father when his visor got cracked open in a battle. And then the big thing is that as a result of one of Gien's latest schemes, this time pulse cracked open and it released a powerful robotic dinosaur created by the Time Police called the V-Rex. And Naoto stole the V-Rex's control unit which turned into the V-Commander and allows him to become the 6th Time Ranger Timefire. And he also gained control of the V-Rex, and now he's the captain of the City Guardians. We've talked a little bit about what Naoto is like, and I don't know. This thing has been playing rent-free in my head ever since Anthony pointed this out. Eric, and I'm going to say this again, if we're comparing him and his Power Rangers counterpart, Eric is the Dub Kaiba, who's he's kind of an anti-hero, and Naoto is Dub Kaiba. He's a complete jerk, and he would totally say, you're a 4th-rate Time Ranger with a 5th-rate mech, or something like that.
You're welcome.
Sorry, ever since Anthony said that, it's just been playing rent-free in my head. Just because that was perfect. And by the way, it's 3rd-rate Ranger with a 4th-rate mech. That's the thing. He never says that in the series, but it's like his victory catchphrase on Duel Links. So, but anyway, let's jump in. We have our case file 34, Assassin. It's a filler Yuri-centric episode where the latest Londars, he's an assassin who's he's a former colleague of Yuri's. They both worked in the private detective industry, and he apparently has this obsession with trying to force himself back into Yuri's life. A big thing that happens here is that his and her and Tatsuya's relationship gets expanded on because Yuri is under the influence of mind control gas, and she calls out for Tatsuya specifically for help, and he kind of develops some feelings for her when he catches Yuri in his arms. So kind of a big thing. It's this was adapted into the Time Force episode Gien's Revenge, and it's pretty similar to that one, except in the Time Force episode the monster was Gien's partner, while here, and there's also a lot of less creepy elements involved. Like here, the monster is doing some kind of handsy stuff with Yuri, which is very obviously not in the Time Force episode. But yeah, what do we think about this episode, guys?
I watched this episode more recently. I remember the
same
Time Force
here.
episode a lot more.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
For some reason.
I think I watched this a month ago, and I don't really remember a lot of it per se. I remember the main points of what Nathan's saying, but I just kind of felt like, okay, this is fine. It's not a big deal. This average filler to me.
Yeah, I would put this a peg over the Time Force episode, probably because no. I'll put the Time Force episode a peg over this one. Sorry, rephrasing that. Just because Here, like Abel, that's the name of the Londars, puts Yuri under mind control, but in the Time Force episode, Steelix, that's the monster's name, actually has Gien actively fight Wes, and he has to like get through to her in the middle of a battle, which I don't know. I mean, I really wish that they used that in the Time Ranger episode, if I'm being honest. So, but yeah, not much else to talk about. What do we want to give this one out of 10, guys?
I was gonna give it a 5, but 4 because of the molesty elements.
I'm gonna give it a 7. It's not. I'm gonna give it a 7. It's just it's good, not great.
I'm gonna give it a 6.
I'm gonna give
just
it
was
a
not
5.5.
You know,
It's average.
it was kind of meh to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so now we get a Naoto-centric filler episode called "Tomorrow Isn't Coming." So in this episode, now
It is tomorrow.
These stupid jokes, Riz. I thought those were going to only be contained to the Rail Riders episode.
I haven't made a single train pun yet.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so in this episode, it's kind of a weird. It's like a Groundhog Day-esque episode. I'm talking about the Bill Murray movie Groundhog Day. Where Naoto gets pressured by Tatsuya to help this sickly child, but then he finds himself repeating the same day over and over and over again, thanks to a spell from the latest Londars. And that nothing really major happens. It's just an episode. What do we think about this one, guys?
Loved it. It was great.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. This episode was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like
big facts.
Peak Naoto at this point for me. Like he's such a good character here. Like he finally gives me something. So you remember how last time I told you, Nate, that I couldn't give you any kind of rating on him yet because I didn't know him enough?
Yeah.
Now I can give you a real rating on him. I like him.
Mm-hmm.
He's good.
It's weird. It also shows sides of him that we hadn't seen before, because up to this point he's been seen as like this cold, power hungry douchebag. But then we see him like afraid in this episode.
Yeah.
And we see him like hesitant, and then at the end we see that the guy actually has a soft spot to him, where he comes back and, you know, sees the kid off and talks him into having the surgery and everything.
Right.
Like it added layers to him very subtly.
Yeah. And he was showing some concern for Tatsuya when Tatsuya was getting beaten up too.
Oh yeah,
by the monster. I want to say that like it's kind of weird that this episode is Naoto centric, because I actually said this in my document reviewing all the Time Force episodes. The Time Force episode equivalent, I guess you could say, is a Lucas-centric episode, but ironically enough, it actually kind of gives some subtle character development for Eric because it's taking footage from this episode. But I feel like, because we have Eric showing genuine concern for Wes in the same way that Naoto was showing genuine concern for Tatsuya. But I feel like, this does it, just a little bit better because it is an Naruto-centric episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I gave the Time Force episode a 9 because I really liked it, and I liked this one too. So I don't want to give it a 10 because it's not like a mind-blowing episode, but I'm still going to give it a 9 because I still thought it was good.
It's 9 because it's seen as a throwaway episode, but there's a lot to it that helps.
Yeah.
So.
Y'all both give 9s, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to up the ante. 9.5.
Sweet.
Oh, man. The balls on this man.
Look, I do what I can.
Anthony, what would you give it? What'd you say?
My bad. I say at the same time 9 as well,
Mike.
because we both said 9 at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, Anthony tried to talk on top of me.
He
louder.
tried to one frame unmute, say what he wanted to say, and then remute, and he failed.
I wasn't trying to be like One
Anthony,
Punch
you're
Man.
not One Punch Man. You can't do that kind of stuff.
Frame
Whoa,
perfect
good luck.
podcasting.
Yeah.
All right, so now we got case file 36, Honest as It Is. And this is a big episode. This is actually, I don't want to say conclusion because it's going to last up to the final episode, but it kind of, brings a little bit of closure to Domon. Well, it does end the Domon Ayase-Domon-Honomi love triangle in a very good way. So Domon and Ayase get caught in the middle of a bomb deal with the Londars, and at the same time, Domon is trying to pressure Ayase to resolve matters with Honami. And the big plot about this is that Domon initially tries to get Ayase to start a relationship with her because he wants to let her go. But then when the bomb is about to go off where they are, and Domon tackles Honami to try and keep her covered, and he realizes, I can't let this woman go. Like, I love her so much. And while Domon is holding Honami, she realizes, oh, wow, this guy was Time Yellow the whole time. And at the very end of the episode, they meet and they go on a date. A couple of things to note. Naoto only appears untransformed in this episode. He doesn't transform into a Timefire. We get some private moments that kind of slowly develop the Tatsuya and Yuri relationship. Tatsuya is teaching Yuri how to make hotcakes. And then there's also this moment where Tatsuya is like, hey, Yuri, you know that Domon and Honami got together, right? And she's like, oh, yeah, that's nice. And then there's this really awkward, very cute, but awkward silence. This episode was not adapted into Time Force at all. The monster wasn't in Time Force either. And here's also a really weird fun fact about this episode. The thief in this episode that steals the bomb, the character's name is Reiji. He's actually a returning character, and I didn't realize this until I was on the Ranger Wiki, but he was a character in episode 16 of the previous Sentai, QQ Sentai Go-Go 5. That episode was actually written by Yasuko Kobayashi as well. So Kobayashi's kind of returning a character from one of her. Now, it's not a huge deal because, obviously this character, I would have noticed that this character was returning if he left an impact on me in the Go-Go 5 episode, but it's just something to note. What do we think about this one, guys?
Weird thing for me to say because I do end up liking both of these characters. I thought that the payoff for this arc was going to be a little bit more big. I guess that's the word I want to use. This felt way too subtle to me. I don't know if that's just me, but
I guess I guess I get it, but I don't know, the moment at the end where they hug and then they're walking together awkwardly, that was just so adorable that it really had me
oh
smiling.
no, that part was good, but I thought it wasn't going to be wrapped up in a single episode where, I thought it was going to be at least a two-parter thing that really strung it out a little bit longer. It felt like that it was just rushed to the point a little bit too quickly.
Yeah.
And it just fell a little bit flat for me.
I liked the resolution here a lot. I thought it was pretty heartwarming. But no, Patrick, I agree with you that we could have had a bit more to the ending of this storyline.
Yeah.
Because I know in the beginning I didn't like it, the triangle, but the more I watched of it, I liked it, and I wanted a good send-off for it. Which, we got. They're together, and that's the important part. But no, it just felt kind of rushed at points.
I was going to say, yeah, I also agree. It just felt oh yeah, it's resolved now. And it's it just felt awkward, It's I thought I was expecting more, that's it. You're not going to do anything more with these characters like that. And he's like, nope. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Well,
at
they
least
do
now
go
we
on
have
to do some
Zoro.
more stuff with them a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I was about to say that. I was gonna say that Domon and Honami at least now can go on cute dates together in the rest of the episodes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think one thing that I would have done here is when Domon kind of reveals himself to her that he's Time Yellow, she has like this moment of like, I've been chasing this guy around, but you're the actual guy. But she has like this like weird like back and forth in her mind of
Yeah,
who
I
she
kind
ends
of
up
thought that was
wanting
going to
to
happen
go
too.
towards or something. And it would have made when she
Yeah.
finally picks Domon a little bit more like dramatic or something. Like he does something like what he did here where he jumps on her to protect her during the bomb and stuff, and that's what like finally flips
I
her
felt
to
that
his
would
side
honestly
or
for me that
something,
would have like helped the story out a little bit more in my personal opinion as well.
yeah, because this they treat this as a major character moment for Domon, but it doesn't feel like a major character moment for him in terms of like scope or scale or whatever. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this, like, I get your criticisms, but I'm gonna defend this. Like, I get what you're saying about the Domon and Honami thing. Like, it could be a little stronger, but one of the reasons why I personally loved this is because I feel like all 6 of the Rangers had like a moment to shine here. So we have the Domon and Honami thing, which okay, that was easy. Ayase plays a part in this because he finally stops being a jerk to Domon and actually does something nice for him, which that would never happen.
yeah.
Shion is just the same old brainiac, and he disables the bomb. Tatsuya and Yuri have some adorable moments, like that scene where Tatsuya is teaching Yuri how to make cupcakes was honestly kind of cute.
Mm-hmm.
And then Naoto at the end, this part made me laugh. There's the part where like the thief is in the water. He's like, "Help me, help me, help me! I'm drowning."
Oh yeah, he's like.
And then Naoto is like, "You know what? I'm just gonna sit here and let you suffer for a couple of minutes."
Yeah. No, this is way too entertaining.
So yeah, I get the criticisms, but honestly, like with all 6 of the Rangers getting their moments to shine, and they're not all of them are great, but I still honestly loved this episode. Like,
I mean,
I still like it too, but I think it needed a little bit something more to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, some of the things you're pointing out, yeah, they're good character moments, but even some of those felt kind of weak to me. Like Tatsuya and Yuri's, like they're cute moments, but it just doesn't feel organic. I don't know.
How would you say it doesn't feel organic?
It's just like, to me, it seems like it came out of left field a little bit in the last couple episodes that, oh, they have a thing for each other, which wasn't there in the beginning. And when I Zen and Wes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I don't feel like it was
like
there for Jin and Wes at the beginning. Like, I feel like Jin genuinely disliked Wes, and it like happened over time.
so.
Well, I mean-
I'm 4 episodes into Time Force right now, and while Zen is still mourning Alex heavily, um, what I was gonna say is that Wes and Zen, while Zen was very, very much still mourning the loss of Alex, you could kind of tell that she was at least starting to like Wes more than she was wanting to let on. Like, it was very subtle stuff, like that little smile she gave him, and just like those subtle little interactions made me think, okay, yeah, I could see them. I could see the beginning of like her liking him now, and of course, I think a lot of that is to do with the fact that they look alike, and she's kind of replacing in her mind Alex for Wes. But I
mean,
still saw it from the beginning there, you know.
I mean, I think it's more that, and I mean, if you interpret it like that, great. I mean, the way I kind of see it, and I say this, and maybe you still need to watch a little bit more, but like the way that I see it, like she accepted Wes in the third episode, well, second, because the first one was a 2-parter, blah 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 blah. Like, and then she, and she accepts that he needs to be there, but I don't feel like she truly, like, I feel like she accepted him as a friend more and more, like as the series went on. I feel like the Gien's not Gien's Revenge, Time Force Trader, which was the adapted from the episode that we just started with, that episode where that monster was being all handsy with Yuri. I feel like that was when she and Wes kind of hit a bit of a point in their like in their relationship. Now Wes always had a thing for Gien. I mean, there's literally an episode early on, Love Struck Rangers, where that monster is trying to hit on him, and then Gien is like, "Hey," Wes is like, "Hey, there's a girl I like, so could you just kind of leave me alone?" So, but I don't feel like Gien truly saw Wes as truly realized her feelings for Wes until after that story arc where Alex comes back. But then ironically enough, I feel like after that point, because the episode that follows immediately after that, Undercover Rangers is what it's called. That's where the dynamic kind of shifts, where Wes used to like Gien and like hit on her, but Gien was kind of confused and she was mourning Alex. And then when Alex comes back and then Gien realizes how much of a jerk he is, she develops an attraction to Wes, but then Wes is all like, well, I kind of see what Wes saw in Alex, so maybe I should kind of back off a little bit. And they literally say that in that episode. So
yeah,
but so I'll admit that yes, I feel like it's more apparent in Time Force early on, like there's a dynamic, but I still feel like Yuri and Tatsuya, even though again we can sit here and talk about how 25 episodes in, I mean, it's only starting to kind of surface, and I get that criticism, but I feel like ever since that thing where they opened up to each other, there's been like some organic chemistry between them.
Yeah, I can see that. I think my concern here, and we'll talk about this a lot more when we get to the Time Force versus Time Ranger. This is where I'm going to just say Gien and Wes are just a better story and much more enjoyable to me than Tatsuya and Yuri. Not to say that there's anything inherently wrong with these two. There's not. They're fine characters. They're just not to the same level.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I agree that there should have been more of a romantic dynamic between them before Case File 24 or 25, whichever number it was. But
yeah.
So I can agree with you on that, but I'll still defend this a little bit and feel like ever since that episode, I feel like the romantic chemistry has been kind of a bit more organic.
Yeah.
But what do we want to give a Case File 36 out of a 10, guys?
I'll go with 8 as well.
Probably an 8.
I was going to go with an 8.
Yeah, I'm still just going to give it a 9 just because I like how all the characters shined. And again, that moment where Naoto decides to just let that guy almost drown, like, sorry, that'll never not be funny. Speaking of Naoto, the next Case File is an episode revolving around him. Case File 37, Targeted Power. This episode is very similar to the Time Force episode. The only difference is that this episode does not debut an armored power-up form for Naoto, while in the Time Force episode it does. Eric's Mega Battle mode, which that Mega Battle mode is awesome, by the way. So Naoto discovers from the Londars of the day of this episode that the Time Rangers are from the 30th century. Basically, this monster has a voice mimicker that he uses to mimic Naoto's voice, and he uses it to summon the V-Rex, and it's like, hey, how do you like our 30th century technology, dude? And then Naoto's all like, wait, 30th century? That's how he finds out. And then and he gets, he has a bit of a verbal confrontation with Yuri. She tells him, you need to work with us. But Naoto is all like, nah, this is actually pretty useful information, and I don't know how I'm going to use it to get power, but I'm going to use it. So, yeah, he like low key kind of stabs them in the back, which is the exact opposite of what the Time Force episode does, where Eric says he's not going to make any promises, but then he ultimately decides, yeah, I'm not going to rat him out. I'm not going to do that to them. Naoto takes his first step toward gaining more power in this episode because he becomes the headquarters chief of the City Guardians, because the former captain, he was appointed to that position, but then he gets dismissed because he actually kind of messed with Naoto for a little bit. Basically Naoto called for help and then the guy just ignored it. Other than that, this is another episode that had a lot of footage of untransformed Naoto being used in place of Eric. The shots of him aiming Yuri's Vol sniper at the Londars with his back to the camera, of course. Him mounting the V commander on his wrist. Those were all that footage was used because, when Riz was watching this batch of episodes, he actually sent me a text saying, dude, how does this guy look so much like Dan Southworth? And they exploited the hell out of that by having Naoto appear untransformed in several episodes in place of Eric, and this is one of them.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah,
and I've met I've met him in person too. I know what he looks like.
I met him too, actually.
But still, regardless.
Yeah, I was actually with Riz when I met Dan Southworth, so.
Well, you met him before me, too.
Yeah, he was my very first Power Ranger actor. That's a memory I'm always going to cherish. And by the way, if you guys want to see how awkward and how starstruck I am, you guys can actually watch that on the podcast by watching me interview Dan Southworth a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Just a shameless plug.
Is it shameless if it's for our own website?
I guess not. Well, what do we think about this episode, guys?
Somebody else can go first.
I was gonna let you go first.
Nah, I'm still trying to fully remember this episode.
I'm gonna go ahead, Riz.
Not good.
I just need to I kind of did it in my last batch, but this is where I just I get really frustrated. So when I watched Time Ranger originally, I think the first 10 episodes were legit subs, like TVD home, but then everything after that were a bunch of what they call Hong Kong subs, where they translate the English from Chinese to Chinese, and then they translate that Chinese to English, and the subs are horrible. And this episode made me realize just how horrible the subs are, because the subs that I watched gives you the idea that Naoto is all oh yeah, I'm not gonna betray you guys. I'll keep your secret safe with me and all that. And that's the exact opposite of what he does. And when I saw that, in the actual subs have him say, no, screw you guys, I'm gonna use this secret to my advantage, and give him the middle finger, I don't know. It just frustrates me so much that my first time watching Time Ranger, and I watch it with a bunch of stupid subs.
Are we talking worse than Gridman subs? Because
probably worse than that.
If it's worse than Gridman subs,
because
Gridman subs are a whole nother level of problem to me.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, you froze for a second.
Probably worse than that, because my wife could see some of those subs and says that they weren't all that bad.
Worse than Gridman subs. That's saying something.
Yeah,
I'm glad I don't have the good subs.
Well, yeah, because these subs are probably the ones that were put on the DVDs. So
yeah,
I watched this season directly off the Shout Factory website, so I know it's their subtitles.
And I can't wait till we do Hurricaneger, because Hurricaneger was another season that I watched with those secondhand terrible subs.
Thank goodness Shout is subbed that season. So
yay, physical media.
It was Deca Ranger.
What was the most recent season they've done? Is it Deca Ranger?
They did Deca Ranger too. Yeah,
I think so.
I think Abba Ranger. Oh,
is it Deca Ranger? Okay.
Yeah.
But putting that aside, I really like this one, but I don't know if I would rank it ahead of the Time Force episode, just because I've said this before. The Time Force episode is my favorite episode of the whole series, with the exception of the finale. I love how it develops Eric's character, and I always love the ending where, like, he's being all like, where the little girl is just, playing with his birds, and, it's just a silent moment, and you see Wes next to him just smiling like, you know what, things are going to work out for the guy. Like, that's a very heartfelt moment. It's not present here. I'm not saying that this episode is bad, because it's not, but the Time Force episode just hit me on a bunch of different levels with Eric's character development. And that's the episode where I feel like Eric really becomes my favorite Sixth Ranger of all time. So I'm only going to say it's like behind the Time Force episode by like maybe like a razor thin margin. But yeah, I still prefer the Time Force episode.
You mentioning that part about him spending time with the girl and his birds, and what it did for Eric. Here with Naoto, it almost seems like he was doing it just to, get the girl off his back. Like, it felt like dismissive more than, because Eric sees it as like a, like, oh, this is adorable, and that's that weird difference between the two characters. And
well, he doesn't give the little girl his birds in the Time Force episode. It's more like you saved my birds, so you can come and visit them whenever you want. Like, it's a genuinely nice gesture.
Yeah, but in this one, it's like he feels like, here, just take them so you can leave me alone.
Which is a totally Naoto thing to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna be nice in the most dickish way possible. But yeah, Naoto is just such a bizarre character to try to dissect, because he's such a douche, and then he'll do something nice with ill intention, and like he's such a bizarre character to dissect for me.
Riz, Anthony, what do you want to say about this one?
I have to agree with you, Nate. Like, from what little I remember of the Eric episode of this, I enjoyed that one a lot more. But yeah, definitely razor thin here on it. Like, I have trouble remembering some of the stuff in this episode. One, because of how long ago it was, but also it just seemed like typical Naoto in terms of like, oh, he's power hungry. He's gonna go, try and assert his power and dominance in the equivalents of the Silver Guardians organization here.
Like, yeah, it's probably my biggest problem with Naoto as a character, is that Eric very clearly had an arc where he started to, I guess, lighten up a little bit.
Yeah.
To where he became more cooperative with the rest of the Time Force Rangers. Naoto is just doing everything he can to be the most unlikable piece of crap alive. Even to the point, even to his own higher-ups, because this episode here, he basically had like the ex-leader of the City Guardians see that, oh, he's in trouble, I'm just going to leave him to die. And Naoto didn't learn a single thing from this.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, that's it, I'm going to one-up this idiot. Yeah, no. He's like, okay, I'm not going far enough,
like,
is what he got from that. Like, no, you're learning the wrong lessons from this situation, man.
These aren't the things you got to be learning here, guys. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I disrespected somebody and I got punished for it. Time to disrespect him harder. That's terrible life advice.
Time for more disrespect, guys.
Where it hurts.
I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna give it a 9 just because I gave the Time Force episode a 10. So, I mean, it's still good. Although I do kind of wish that Naoto got the Mega Battle mode like the Time Force episode did, because again, that Mega Battle mode for Eric is just awesome.
I'm gonna give this I don't know, 7 or 8. I can't decide. Patrick, give us numbers I can copy you.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 7 too. Just mostly because I don't think this episode really does anything for Naoto's character, even though it tries to imply it does. I think
I also
the
agree with that.
Groundhog Day episode did more for his character than this one did.
Thank you. Okay, so that's what I was trying to convey earlier, that this is typical
Yeah.
Naoto behavior, but there's nothing spectacular or interesting about it. It's just him being himself. There's no development, there's no arc. It's just him being an ass.
For me, I want to give it a 7 as well.
I'm gonna echo that 7.
Like everybody else said, if Naruto had just, learned from this instead of just like going, hey, I'm just gonna keep being a douche and not learn anything, then I would have given a higher score.
All right, so next up we're going to move on to case file 38 called Good Night. It's a Shion-centric filler episode. So the Time Rangers, they get caught in the middle of a crisis with a movie-making Londars while they're trying to protect Shion because he's about to enter into a week-long hibernation for his species. Shion does not transform into Time Green, although he tries to twice and fails.
And he at least tries.
It's like a Shion. It's the thought that counts.
Yeah. This was adapted in about a 2-part episode Time Force Movie Madness, which I'll talk about that. But the big thing here is that a Providus, it was called the Transwarp Megazord in Time Force. It's this yellow robot in the 30th century that like punches the mechs through the time portal. It actually is brought in to assist the Time Rangers in their mech battle here because of the monster with his movie-making abilities. And this is the only time that it engages in combat. And there's also there's kind of a low-key E.T. reference in this episode because the Rangers are flying on bikes and they start to fly, and then we actually see their silhouettes on the moon, just like from that famous in E.T. So, what do we think about this one, guys?
Well, I want to start off by asking y'all, how do you rate this compared to the Time Force equivalents?
I call this better than the Time Force episode just because... So, first of all, I feel like the Time Force episode was stretched out too long. Like, it didn't need to be a 2-parter. And, like, I feel like the 2 episodes that this took up, I mean, why is this a 2-parter, but the team up with Lightspeed Rescue is not a 2-parter? Like,
because...
And I'd say, how dare you?
Okay, fine, but like...
No. I wasn't saying about you, but towards you, Riz. I was saying towards...
No. I'm not saying Lightspeed was bad.
Idea. My bad. No. Okay. I was saying towards you, Riz. I'm sorry.
I'm not trying to disrespect Lightspeed. I'm just saying that they didn't care enough to...
No, but but here's the main issue. This episode does have character-related drama because, like, the Time Rangers want to protect Shion, who is like their little brother, effectively, or he's like the baby of the team, and they're trying to protect him, and Shion feels like he's being a burden to the team. It's simple, but it's great stuff, and, like, I just love how they're constantly trying to go out of their way to make sure that Shion's okay. So that's legitimate character drama. In the Time Force episode, there's no character moments, and it's a perfect opportunity to give some character moments, like all of the Rangers being trapped in their different movies, but in their favorite types of movies.
Which I will say that was pretty badass.
Gien likes kung fu movies. That's it. Wes and Trip like Western movies. Lucas likes samurai movies. Cool. Katie likes musical movies, and then Eric for some reason gets put in a Tarzan movie, even though we don't really have much of an explanation there. And then Eric just disappears, and then after Eric gets released from his movie universe, he just disappears entirely, and the rest of the episode is just a bunch of stupid antics where they're running around from the monster. Rancic puts on this Mad Max outfit because his actor was the main villain in one of the Mad Max movies. Isn't that cool? And like,
cool.
It is cool. It is cool, but it's a style over substance thing.
Yeah.
For me with the Time Force episode. While here, okay, there's not a great amount of substance, but there's substance with the character.
Yeah. Even though for me... Oh, I'm so sorry, Riz. Go ahead.
You get what I mean?
Yeah, and that... I was gonna say, yeah, and that was my dilemma when I asked you the question is, I was having a hard time deciding which one I like better, because there are parts of the Time Force stuff that I did like. Like, while it was kind of frivolous and, just
Me too.
fillery, I genuinely enjoyed all the running around stuff. But the Time Ranger episode is better, in my opinion, because I like Sion's development with the sleeping thing, and that's just hilarious to me.
Yeah. And I honestly don't get why they couldn't have just made it a single episode and just copied the episode entirely with them just trying to keep Trip protected. Because I don't think Trip gets another focus episode after, like, I can't even remember. I think the last Trip focused episode is the one where he stands up to Eric when he's trying to kill that mutant. And then after that, he gets nothing. Like, it would have been perfectly fine just to explain that, like, Trip's going through a period
Yeah.
where, like,
Yep.
Zybrians, I think that's what Trip's alien species
Yeah.
was called, are going through a period where they're weakened and the people try to protect them. Like, if they just, honestly, if the Time Force episode just copied this one, it would have been a lot better than it actually was. And I'm not, and
Yeah.
the Time Force episode is mindless fun. It's fun. I like watching it, but it's just mindless fun with no real substance, if you know what I mean.
But I mean, okay. The tone of Time Force leans a tad bit darker, in my opinion, than Time Ranger does as a whole. So you need stuff like this every now and then, like just mindless fun to break it up, I think.
I mean, fair enough, but it didn't have to be a two-parter, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, I can see why you say
Yeah,
that,
same
but I
here.
also say I had fun, so I don't really care.
What do you think, Patrick? You've been kind of quiet.
I think I agree that the Time Force one probably shouldn't have been 2 episodes, but at the same time, I think it was a lot more entertaining because it looked like the actors had a lot more fun filming that episode than the Time Ranger cast did. And
Yeah.
when you see the actors are
Yeah.
having fun filming something, it kind of makes it a lot more fun to watch. So, but in the end, both
Nothing.
episodes kind of
Nothing.
accomplish the same thing, which is nothing. Really, so I don't really care one way or the other.
Well, I gave the Time Force a 7, so I'm going to give this one an 8, honestly.
I'm gonna give it a 7 as well.
Yeah, 6.
I'm gonna go with 7.
Okay. All right, so next up we get a 2-part episode. It's kind of a case file 39, a lie soaked in rain, and then case file 40, I guess it retires. This is basically a 2-part that wraps up Ayase's story arc. Well, it doesn't wrap up entirely because it's not going to be wrapped up until later, but this kind of concludes it a little bit. So the Time Rangers, they have to team up with Dornero because there's this deadly disease being spread all over the place by the Londars of the day. And a cure is developed for the virus. This virus is going to kill people slowly, and Ayase races to deliver it because he doesn't want anybody to get killed for, he doesn't want anybody to suffer the same fate that he's inevitably going to. But then, unfortunately, because he's driving really fast, he has a violent seizure that renders him unconscious. And then at the end, after the Londars is freeze compressed, the other Time Rangers rush to Ayase's side, and they're just worried about him. And that's when Tatsuya's thinking, should I tell them or should I not? I don't know. And then that transitions to case file 40, where Tatsuya reveals the secret to the others, and he has less than a half a year to live, and they want him to retire. And Domon is the most forceful, but then Ayase just, he keeps it going, just saying, I want to keep fighting because fighting is the only thing that really gives me hope for the future. And in the end, they accept it and they keep fighting together. Another big thing, and this is going to play a big part in the next big episode that we get, is that so you probably might have guessed it, but Gien is the one who releases the Londars of a Day in this episode. And Donero is revealed to have a means of controlling Gien. As he's becoming more and more insane, he puts this key into Gien's back, and it just reduces him to like this child like person.
Which ironically looks like a pacifier if you look closely at it.
Bubbles. Yeah.
God.
But it ends up having a little bit of a deeper meaning. We're gonna find that out very quickly in this batch of episodes, but we'll get to that when we get to it. What do we think about this two-parter, guys?
I think this is one of the better two-parters we had in this thing.
Yep.
I think Domon and Ayase's relationship is what really sold it on me. Like, if it wasn't for Domon's response,
yes,
this would have been very meh. But Domon's response is what made this thing amazing.
Yeah, Domon and Ayase's like tough love dynamic is endearing. Because in the episode we had a little bit ago with Honami, he was basically threatening Domon. It's like, you go get her. now Domon's returning the point. It's like, we care about you, idiot. Punch him in the face. I love their dynamic.
So this two-part, especially the second part, dude, I was in tears when it was the scene with Domon and Ayase. Domon wanted to punch Ayase, but Ayase was like, "Oh, you're gonna hit me because I'm sick," and I'm like, I don't know, for that part just made me tear up because it made me think of a situation with my family members. I thought I was gonna lose my grandpa at one point because he had a heart attack, and I just was like, that really brought up losing a family member, and it really just brought me to tears because of it. It was just like, it's like, this is some heavy stuff, like.
And I think it's great that they made Domon, of all people, be the guy who tries to punch Ayase, because remember, most people not this was before he met Honami. His big thing was that he comes from a big family in the future that he misses, and he's worried that he might not see that family again. So the Time Rangers now are his family, and now he's worried that he's going to lose even another family member from this new family. It's just that's why he probably got so emotional that he was crying and he was going to punch Ayase in the face.
Mm-hmm. But it's also a moment of. It also kind of erases the concern that Ayase had and why he wanted to keep it a secret for so long. Is that he didn't want to be given special treatment. So when Domon hesitated to punch him, Ayase almost took that.
Oh, now you're not gonna punch me because I'm sick. Come on, bro.
And now you're gonna get soft. Yeah, now you're gonna get all soft on me, Domon. I don't like that. And it was like a thing of, okay, well maybe he's regardless of what happens to him, his wish is to be treated like there's nothing wrong. So it put Ayase's concerns aside and allowed him to be more comfortable in the group. This whole episode was just written so well, and it has one of my favorite cinematic moments in the season where it's everybody huddled around his unconscious body in the rain, and Tatsuya is just standing there looking broken, and you even see Naoto standing a little bit up the road looking genuinely concerned. Yeah, that whole shot was amazing.
And I would say maybe the first part gave some good development for Ayase too, just because when we first met him, he's just completely uncaring. Maybe he cares a little bit about other people living, but he just doesn't seem to be his whole attitude is I'm gonna be dead in a little while. I mean, who cares? But then here he's like, oh my god, this disease could kill a bunch of people just like me. I don't want other people to suffer the same fate. And he's like, he literally puts himself in like a life-threatening condition just to get that cure to everybody.
Yeah. It's too late for me. It's not too late for everyone else. It's a noble thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only other thing I could say is, so the funny thing is both these episodes were adapted into Time Force, but they weren't connected. Like the first episode, ironically enough, was connected to the episode where Alex comes back, where we learn more about Frax's backstory, because that mutant was responsible for Rancic's condition. Love that episode. The episode that's adapted into 40, that is the worst episode of Time Force ever. This episode, the Time Ranger episode is, oh my God, Ayase is dealing with a lot of drama. What's going to happen to him? But the Time Force episode is Nadira and Lucas go out on a date. Hijinks ensue. Whoop-de-doo-de-doo.
Yes,
that was the
episode.
That was the episode that this.
Oh God.
And let me make one thing clear. I don't mind the plot of that episode if they used it to foreshadow Nadira's redemption. But they don't, and it's just used for stupid comic relief antics that aren't even that funny. Therefore, it's a bad episode.
Sorry, I'm having a moment of introspection, coming to the realization that's what Time Force did with this episode. I'm questioning some life choices.
It could have been worse.
Yeah, no. There's only 2 Time Force episodes that I think are genuinely bad. The episode where Katie gets sent back in time, which even then is
it was kind of meh.
It's just kind of a.
It wasn't a bad episode. It was just kind of eh.
And then there was this episode, which I do think is genuinely bad because it misses an opportunity to foreshadow Nadira's redemption. Like, I don't know, maybe they get together through the misunderstanding, and then Nadira and Lucas have a genuine connection, and then Nadira is starting to think, wow. Yeah. He's actually kind of nice.
That episode, that episode brings me back to what I was regurgitating all throughout our Zoo Ranger thing. I hate episodes that are wasted potential. That episode is the definition of wasted potential.
Like, she could have been like, "Wow, this guy is actually really nice. Maybe humans aren't as bad as my father says." I mean, Rancic is all like,
"Right, pretty much."
You dating a ranger? Chameleon, God, break them up. And then, because you can, like, I don't mind the comic relief antics. I just wish that they did that, because the next episode of that time from after that is the beginning of Time Force's in-game arc. So, perfect opportunity to foreshadow her redemption, and you just waste it. Like that's a genuinely bad episode. Even good seasons have bad episodes.
Oh, dude, I could go on and on and on about. Okay, that was the episode where Dana gets spotted by some agent chick or whatever, and she just becomes a complete out of nowhere. She's knowing the Ranger duties. She leaves Kelsey hanging when they're doing that routine exercise or whatever. It was just bad. And then all of a sudden she's.
Oh yeah, that one episode where she randomly.
Yes, that was
that episode where she randomly becomes Paris Hilton for no reason.
I want to shoot it. I would shoot it Carter via Carter style.
So
10 times.
That episode is worse than the Time Force episode we were just talking about. Just to
it's like clarity. take that episode, take that moment from the first episode where Carter runs over the monster and just Photoshop the title card of that episode on the monster. He just runs it over.
Well, what do we want to give this 2-parter, guys?
Oh man, if I had to give something a 10, this would be it. But I am.
Dude, I'm giving
I'm hesitant
10.
too.
Definitely 10.
I'm thinking 9.
I'm giving it a 9. Oh, man. I mean, the ending scene where they're all walking together and they're like laughing and bumping each other like a family, like that was a genuinely heartfelt moment. Like that's on par with like something that I would see the time, Like, honestly, I wish that...
was-
I know that the Time Force cast has a lot of great chemistry. I wish that they did something like that, where they're just bumping into each other and laughing. Because they would totally do that.
Yeah, that final shot of them walking away felt like the first time where they had fully become
Yeah.
like a true team to me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because they had been going through so many like
Let's give him a 10.
yeah.
I'm going to give it
this.
a 10.
Yeah, I cave. Yeah, I cave.
Peer pressure. Go.
Yeah. Life lesson,
Wait,
kids.
Riz,
Succumb to peer
were you
pressure.
singing it just like how a certain song that we dislike, or was it okay? Because it sounded just like it a little bit.
No. What song are you talking about?
Don't say it, Anthony. I know what you're saying. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Wait, no, now I gotta know.
The Overdrive theme song.
Oh, my God. Ah! I
Anthony,
hate that song.
I could kick you right
Dude,
now.
the way you sounded, it had the same cadence and all that. Yeah.
I will.
Oh my God.
I will gridman through the internet and punch you through your monitor for even bringing that song up to me.
I will join Patrick in doing that for even thinking I would do something so low and dastardly and dirty.
See, I shouldn't have said. See, I should have said nothing. I
Sour
should have said
now.
nothing. I just kept my mouth shut.
You know how he gets set off from Geki Ranger? That I get set off like that from Overdrive.
You think I don't either?
Hey, Pat,
I hate that show.
hey, Patrick, guess what? We all do.
yeah, that is a good point. Our Digi Ranger
I
channel
still remember.
made a milking
Right.
off of that. That whole stick.
I still remember whenever I was watching this crap for the first time, and I just started texting Patrick at the end. I was like, Patrick, what the hell is this crap?
I remember you texting me the first time you were watching Overdrive, and I was just watching you have a mental breakdown via text message.
Like what?
I wish I saw this text, but I don't.
Those were like from a decade ago,
God, I feel
though.
so
but
old.
I don't care. I still wish I
They
had
were,
them.
they were genuinely hilarious.
They were. Oh my God, Anthony! How dare you?
I shouldn't have said nothing. See, I was like, I should have never said nothing.
Yeah. Did you learn your lesson?
Okay.
Did you learn your
first-
lesson?
Okay, hold on. I gotta go to this bit here. First,
Oh, God.
Anthony introduces me to that crapso Geki Ranger, and gets me to.
Look, I said I was sorry. Dang it.
Here's the rant, by the way. Now he thinks I'm singing the Overdrive theme song. Mm-mm-mm.
I thought you knew him better than this. How dare
I thought we
you?
were friends.
You betrayed me.
I thought so too. You were the chosen one.
Anyway, let's move on to...
we got that out of our system.
Look, on the bright side, I'm no longer have any reason to rant about Geki Ranger. It's done.
You're welcome.
You know, believe that one. I see it.
No. For this episode, it's done. It'll come back next episode. Because, you know.
Unless I bring up something else that gets him off, that gets him all crazy. I mean,
Don't bring up that possibility, please. Anyway, we have another filler episode, Tatsuya and Yuri centric, called "Expose the Prophet," where Tatsuya and Yuri go undercover. They're investigating a cult that's part of a swindling scam from the Londars. A big thing here is that Domon reveals that he and Honami actually met, and he actually revealed to her that he's from the 30th century, but she doesn't really care. And because of this, he tries to put pressure on Tatsuya and Yuri to just admit that they like each other. So that's about it. It's pretty similar it's pretty much has the exact same plot as the Time Force episode, though, Undercover Rangers, where Wes and Gien go undercover. What do we think about this one, guys?
I don't know. It was a goofy premise. The whole
that's fair.
thing,
yeah,
kind of creepy, but it was nice for these two to finally open up to each other. I feel like it just been dragging its feet a little bit recently, but to finally get some actual progression in it, it was welcome. But
I think the Domon parts are better,
yeah,
where he's like
Yeah.
telling Hanami about the future, and then also like him wanting the two of them to fall in love.
Yeah.
I thought those
playing,
are the best parts of it.
Domon playing
Yeah.
the wingman thing.
Domon trying to be a real one.
Honestly, y'all, I know it's gonna sound biased, but I just honestly think that Time Force did it better. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately. I feel like, I'm going to defend the. I'm still like, I've already kind of defended the romance. I feel like the chemistry is moving a bit better, but I still get it that Wes and Gien were just kind of established a lot earlier, so there's just the bias
Yeah.
there.
Well, it's not that it's earlier. It's that it's better.
I mean that, yeah, but I still think that these two are. I don't know. I feel like this being an episode where they're both kind of denying their attraction to each other is honestly, I don't know. It's honestly kind of cute to me.
I mean, no, I definitely agree. Like, this is a cute episode. I have nothing negative to say about this one. I'm just saying that, to Anthony's defense, the Zen and West storyline was not only brought in earlier, but it's done better.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And we got a huge 3-parter next. So what do we want to give this one out of 10? We should wrap this one up.
6.
I'm gonna give it a 6 as well.
I'm gonna give it a 7.
6.
It's not that bad.
Look, I'll go to 7.
I'm just indifferent towards it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's where I was too.
All right, so we get a 3-part episode, and we're going to talk about each of these individually. Case File 42, The Fallen Angel of Destruction. This is the beginning of a 3-part episode where the Time Rangers, they're forced to work with Doniro because Gien gets freed by a mysterious man. We're going to find out who that guy is pretty soon. We actually learn more about Gien's backstory. Because in a flashback, it's revealed that Gien was previously a very kind of dim-witted, but ultimately innocent and kind human being. He got befriended by Doniro when Doniro was on the run from a gang that he was at war with. But then that gang found Gien and beat him up horribly for helping Doniro and beat him nearly to death. So in desperation, Doniro paid to have Gien saved. Basically, he had Gien's brain implanted into a robot body. That's the body that he has now. And turned him into a cyborg. And he was given the key. That's the thing that we saw at the in the previous episode that Anthony said was kind of like a pacifier. It has the power to switch his robot brain off because the robot brain, as you probably would have guessed, is slowly turning him insane, as we've seen. Gien attacks the Asami group headquarters because he's trying to steal equipment that he's going to use for his next experiment. And Tatsuya's father, Wataru, he actually gets horribly injured in the process, put in critical condition. The Time Rangers actually beat Gien into submission, and they almost are able to use the key to shut him down because they try to work with Doniro here. But then the Mystery Man, who actually freed Gien, he shoots Shion down, and then when Gien withdraws, the Mystery Man reveals himself as who? Captain Ryuya, the guy from the future. Yeah, Anthony's seen the in-game arc, so he knows just how much.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut for now, but yeah.
Thank you.
At the end of this episode, to kind of lead in, Taku detects another time pulse similar to the one that unleashed the V-Rex. So this episode was adapted into Time Force, pretty much the same plot, but they didn't use the monster Harbel. he wasn't adapted. Although there was this very brief, like blink and you'll miss it shot where he's in the Sentai footage, but that's about it. And yeah, that wraps up this. What do we think about this one, guys?
I think Anthony has words to say, so I'm going to let him go first.
I think that's going to be in relation to the in-game arc, Riz.
Yeah, I can't say nothing
Never
yet.
mind. Don't speak
Yeah, I sympathize with Anthony's feelings there, but this is one of the few, like one of the big things that ever since I've finished watching this season, because I have seen the in-game arc myself, I'm not sure which season did this villain better, like in terms of like their setup between Gien and Vrax, because they're both messed up.
I kind of, for the moment, lean towards Gien.
I'm starting to lean that way too.
He has such a tragic story compared to Frax. I think Frax is crazy.
Yeah, Frax was basically, I'm gonna rebuild myself as a robot and then like secretly work with Rancic until I get a chance to backstab him.
Yeah, I mean that's a great story, but
yeah,
go ahead.
Gien just,
Yeah, what always bothered me about Frax is that there's a setup for a good backstory here, but my problem is that, like, so the setup is great. He was a human who helped Rancic, and then Rancic, because he's a jerk, blew up his lab and tried to kill him, and then he transformed himself into a robot, but I don't get how that translates him trying to wage war with the Rangers. It's like, after he breaks away from Rancic, because he almost kills Rancic by destroying all that serum that would have killed him, why is he going after the Rangers? Why is he trying to destroy the city? I mean, he's literally at the end of the Time Force episode where we learn about his backstory, Rancic says, humans are our enemies. And then Frax says, no, humans are your enemies. And it's like, okay, Frax, then why are you making a bunch of giant robots that are going around killing humans? Like,
don't worry about it.
Like,
the only thing I can think of is that he was going all scorched earth. He just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, but that's just implied stuff. Here they're outright saying that he has a robot brain that's just turned him insane to the point where he just kind of has hey, wouldn't destroying the space-time continuum and killing a bunch of people, wouldn't that be really cool? Like,
so that's really why he's like that, is because the robot part of him just makes him go crazy.
That's what they implied, yeah.
Why did he turn him into a robot then?
Yeah.
Because, no, they say, are you talking about Frax? Gien. They're saying that, okay, he was beaten nearly to death and he was going to die, so they had to put his brain in a robot body.
Because I was like, I mean, he looked like he just got beat up, like, not as bad. This is the thing. I just feel like if he was more or less like, how I'll explain this. If the injuries didn't seem as severe as the way that it interpreted, in my personal opinion, you might disagree, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But in my eyes, it just felt like, he just got beat up, and he just all of a sudden turned into a robot, and I'm just like, was that really necessary? You could have just, like, you know what I'm saying. I would have preferred if you had just show us that he is like, physically beyond repair. Like. I'm trying to think of how.
But it still works because there's an explanation why he's trying to kill a bunch of innocent people. Like with Frax, like, okay, cool. That explains why you want to go after Rancic and kill Rancic. Go ahead, like, thumbs up for that. But why are you trying to kill a bunch of innocent human beings and these Rangers who did nothing wrong to you? Like.
I get it, but this is the part with Gien and like, I just felt like it was like unnecessary for Donero to turn him into a robot, unless you see, like, if he was like on death's door, like physically, it just like, it didn't show me like that. Oh, this guy could die if I don't save him, but like I think of more wounds in him, going don't know, like he could have.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I get that,
I
but-
thought it was kind of pretty obviously implied that he was basically dead.
Yeah.
He just didn't look like that to me. I don't know. Maybe I should if he looked. I guess I don't know. Maybe if he happened to see him outside already like lying there like lifeless, I would have preferred that over him just come back to the base and he's going, "Donetto, I didn't tell him," and that. I don't know. I guess I just would have preferred something a little different.
But the substance of the point they're trying to get across is still
No, I'm not saying that. It's just
Gien-
it's just my weird interpretation of it. It just didn't it just didn't really maybe question some things. I'm just like, wait, really? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do say that this also kind of makes Del Nero a little bit more interesting in the grand scheme of the series too, because he has a good side to him, because he basically just barged into this guy's house when he was on the run and actually made a friend with somebody. It's like a genuine friendship, and you can actually see that he's actually upset that Gien is like this now, because there was no like sense of like ill will or cruel-heartedness in him when he was human. But in order to keep his friend alive, he had this major drawback that he has a hard time controlling. And it makes Del Nero, I think, a more layered character in hindsight.
Yeah. But you want to know something, Riz? This kind of reminded me of part 5 of Golden Wind just a tiny bit. You want to know why? Because guess what? A kid helps out an injured mob boss. And yeah, so that's kind of, I was like, it kind of reminds me of part 5 Golden Wind. Just that one aspect. Everything else is like completely different.
I was going to say that's a bit of a stretch if you ask me, but I
Yeah.
can see what you're going for.
What do we want to give this one out of 10, guys?
Probably an 8.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a 9 just because I feel like Gien's backstory was the meat of this episode, and I honestly forgot how
For
great
me,
it was.
it's gonna be a 8. It would have been a 9, but like I said, even with my little rant that I just did earlier, it's still a good part. So I'll give it an 8 just for that.
I'm gonna go at 8.5.
Cool. All right, so now we're going to move on to case file 42. 43. Wait, hold on. Sorry, got it.
Numbers, they're not easy.
43, the history revision order. So, as this episode begins, Captain Ryuya, he relieves. So the plot of this is that he relieves Tatsuya of his duties as Time Red because he's going to be leading the Time Rangers to a critical battle. We find out in the during Ryuya's briefing that basically everything that has happened in the series up to now, so the Londars going through all their antics, Gien going through his rampages, the City Guardians and Timefire appearing, they were all part of the actual timeline. But one major thing is different. During the very first Time Ranger battle in Case File 2, where they fought the first giant monster Juggler, the Time Rangers were supposed to die, but they survived because Ryuya intervened by sending the Time Jets. And he's allowed them to survive by sending the Time Jets constantly because something is about to happen. Gien is going to be unleashing a powerful robot from a time pulse. It's called the G-Zord. And if it's left unstopped, it will open up a time portal that threatens to destroy the world and the 30th century. So he has Tatsuya surrender his chrono changer. Tatsuya does, and they're forced to work. And the other 4 don't want to work with him, but they ultimately do because they're like, well, our timeline is going to be destroyed if we don't help this guy, so we kind of have to. But then, and then it's also revealed, as you might recall in the previous case file episode, that Wataru, Tatsuya's father, was critically injured. Ryuya reveals that he's going to be dying in a couple of days, and Tatsuya's destiny is to take over the Asami group. And a little bit of a subplot, which is going to have a huge amount of meaning later on. Naoto was thinking, oh, the boss is injured? Time to make my plan. Because Naoto, with his power-hungry tendencies, is going to do
Who else
that.
but Naoto?
And
that was terrible. You should feel bad.
I don't.
Myself,
I don't.
So the Time Rangers, they fight off the G-Zord. This thing was called Dragantron in Time Force. But they hesitate. Like, basically, they go back to the whole thing of, like, what's the point of even doing this? Like, because according to Ryuya, everything that's happened up to this point, he's allowed to happen. Like, are we doing this because we want to, or is it because it's just part of the script, basically? And, and this screws with Tatsuya as well, because remember, Tatsuya's whole thing throughout this series is trying to make his own destiny. Like, he wants to leave the Asami group and make his own, like, personal, life. And even he's realized now, ultimately, this has all been mapped out and part of the script, and I'm still going to end up being part of the Asami group anyway. He's under a lot of pressure to do it. So, yeah, it's a huge crisis, internal crisis for these guys. And that ends it. What do we think about Case File 43, guys?
Okay, starting off here, the question of if they have control of their destiny at this point versus like 2 episodes ago, I'll agree with them that up until the time that the captain appeared in this timeline, like this part of time, yeah, they were kind of puppets being strung through time by Ryuya, yeah. But the minute he came back to the present, there is no more like puppeteer controlling the every movement of what's happening. Like, he's throwing a crapshoot to hope that he can stop what's to come. He doesn't know if it's going to work or not. He hopes it does. So at this point, I think they're more so fighting to choose for their own destiny. Like, there's no more predetermined crap going on, I don't think.
Okay. But, I mean, everything up to that point, though, and I mean, it's a huge crisis for Tatsuya, because it's revealed that, like, okay, Anthony, you type that comment into the chat again. Okay, guys, just a fair warning, Anthony's going to have a massive angry rant about this captain in the next podcast.
Just FYI.
Which I think we all are, because he's kind of because, spoiler, without giving too much away, this guy turns out to be kind of a jerk, but that's all
that's all we're going to say.
But
spoiler.
But yeah, but I still feel like this is a huge thing for Tatsuya, because this is part of the reason why I feel like it works a little bit. Like, the Time Force episode also works good, but I feel like with Tatsuya, it's always been kind of established, like, even before he became a ranger, that, like, he wanted to make his own destiny, and he's been trying to do that, and he's always had this thought, like, I have control of my own destiny, but then ultimately he finds out everything's been mapped out. Like, even him becoming a Time Ranger, which was his way of rejecting the Asami group, even that was ultimately just part of the timeline. He didn't really make it. It was part of the script. And he ends up getting president of his father's company anyway. Like, that's legitimate deep stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That is... He's going to need a counselor after the season's over.
And I think they handle it good in Time Force too. It's just, like, Wes didn't really reject... I mean, he wanted to like go out and have fun, but I don't think he was ever really opposed to becoming the president of Biolab until the episode where he breaks off with his father, which is in like the I want to say the 6th episode of Time Force. So
like that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's not that he wants to have fun. It's he's not interested in what his dad laid out for him. So he's using every opportunity he can to kind of get away from it.
Yeah. Patrick, Anthony, what do you want to say about this?
I always felt that this story arc in Time Force was kind of missing something. Other than, and I didn't really know what until I watched this one. And it was kind of, it's always been known as probably like the biggest issue with Time Force was the effect of what they were doing in the present and how it affected the past. And there had been this whole thing throughout the season of, are they doing, what kind of damage are they doing to their home time period and everything? And then to have this twist put on them that, well, technically you haven't really done anything wrong yet. I just left you alive because I need you for something. This adds a whole, like, almost demented level to the plot that Time Force was desperately missing in some way.
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's only subtly implied in the Time Force episode where Alex just simply says, everything that's happened up to now, I've allowed to happen.
Yeah.
But he doesn't go into a lot of detail like, oh, Jatara, that was the name of the Time Force monster, was supposed to kill you. But I sent you guys the Time Flyers and the Time Force Megazord, and that's what saved you.
Yeah, because this just works so much better than the way Time Force handled this whole ordeal. And I think everything going forward is just amplified because of this episode alone. I think sets up Time Force's back end incredibly well.
And I feel like
I love Time Force, and I love Time Force's finale. I still think it's like top 3 best Power Ranger finale, but
it's
without
the best.
doubt,
it's the best in my opinion.
Yeah,
I personally, I still think in Space might be the best one, but that's just bias. Because
that's the only finale I'll accept anyone calling better than the Time Force finale.
Yeah, but it felt like it didn't have the appropriate, like, weight behind it. It was more of like the implied threat instead of the actual threat. And Time Ranger has done a good job of establishing an actual physical threat of, well, here's a visual representation of what's going to happen to your timeline if we don't do this, and it's just everybody dies.
In the Time Force episode, it's just Alex saying, hey guys, Frax has this giant robot that's going to kill a bunch of people, so we got to stop it. Like, and that scene really annoys me too, where Alex is saying, like, do you not realize, like, what the effect of your actions has on the future? Like, no, it's affected the future. And then Trip says, how has it affected the future? And then Alex says, I can't tell you.
What do you mean you can't tell me?
Why not? No. Why not?
It works better here when he actually shows what it will do and what will happen. The stakes are higher because you actually know what's going to happen. And I'm going to be honest with you. I was kind of going back and forth in my mind on which of these 2 seasons I preferred. This episode swung that meter heavily in favor of Time Ranger. Alone. That's how much I like this episode.
And we'll go into more detail with how it concludes with the next one. But what do we want to give this particular part out of 10, guys?
Seeing how I've already given a 10, I can't give 2 10s in one episode. I think that's a little bit unfair because this episode, this might be my favorite episode of the whole season up to this point. Genuinely. I'll go 9.5 then. Like,
I'm gonna give this one a 9.
I'm gonna go with a 9.
I think I'm gonna go with an 8.
Okay.
Cool. So let's finish this three-parter off with case file 44. It is called the Revolt Against Time. It pretty much wraps this up. Um, so first of all, Captain Ryuya, we already kind of knew this, but this confirms it. He's revealed to be working with Gien. Because at one point he confronts Gien and says, like, dude, you're supposed to be doing this. Like, when I stopped the Time Rangers
Jerk.
from arresting you. So, why would you do that? No one discovers this, though. Pretty secret. Kind of wish that they kind of left that in the shadows, but then again, it's pretty much clear that he's already helping Gien. So
Yeah, and this was my first instance of not liking this clown.
Gien's motivation, and this is kind of important because he actually wants the reason why he's unleashed the G-Zord is to salvage its engine because he wants to use it for some sinister purposes, which we're not going to find out until the in-game arc, but just keep that in the back of your head, guys who are listening. So while Tatsuya is at the hospital, his mom reveals that Wataru, he also tried to run away from the Asami group just like Tatsuya, but he eventually took over. But even though he did, he still is living by his own beliefs, and he's running the Asami group the way that he wants to, like, still running by his own beliefs. And that's when Tatsuya realizes, you know what, I'm still able to, I still have my values, even if this whole thing has been scripted out, and I can still fight for them. Now, meanwhile, Ryuya, the Time Rangers basically revolt against him. Like, they're angered at him using them as pawns. And they said, hey, you know what? Screw you. Everything that we've done out of our free will, and we want to save the future, and we're going to do it our own way. So screw you. And they force him to give up the red chrono changer back to Tatsuya. The Time Rangers come together to defeat the G-Zord. With the G-Zord defeated, Ryuya returns to the future. He warns the other time officers of something called the Great Disappearance, where in the very beginning of the year 2001, much of civilization will be destroyed, and he deploys a time ship for them to return, but the Force say, no, we love our lives here, and we still have to arrest Onera, so we're not going to leave. And the episode ends with the Time Rangers. They all get together with the main five, not Naoto, but they all get together with Honami and have their Christmas party because I forgot to mention this is the Time Ranger Christmas episode, and pretty cool way to end it. What do we think about this one, guys?
What's up with the year 2001?
That's right.
Gee whiz.
What do you mean?
What do I mean, he asks.
By the way, I just want to say real quick, I love how I don't think that they do it much anymore, but like Super Sentai episodes that came out in like the late 90s and early 2000s, like having a major story arc also be part of the Christmas episode. I love that. The other example I can remember is Mega Ranger, the final episode of the Neji Ranger story arc. That was also the Christmas episode. The equivalent of when they did the Psycho Rangers. Pretty, it's simple stuff, but I just like that.
I do
like
this episode.
It's Christmas, and we just ended we just went through something huge, and now we're going to go home and just enjoy Christmas.
I got two things I want to say before I pass the baton on to someone else. I thought it was just a funny detail that at the end of every episode in this season, they put up the date at which that episode happened, and I thought that was just a thing because, Time Ranger, so we're going to, make like a timeline that you can follow of what's going on and like, when things happen in the season. Them saying 2001, they actually ends up turning into a doomsday clock at the end of every episode going forward. I love how they turn that into like a fourth wall plot element. It's such a sick
pretty much.
Do. But also, this episode also really won me over on this season because you want to know what this episode kind of reminded me of?
What?
The penultimate episode of Shinkenger. With the rest of the team choosing their leader.
You know what? I see it, yo.
Granted,
Yeah.
I don't think it comes off as well written as it did in Shinkenger, but it's still so well done that, and that's one of probably my favorite moment at all of Sentai is when Takuro officially takes over the head and you see like the jubilation on the others' faces. But this kind of has the same effect of, you're not our leader, he is, and then he comes in and they get the job done.
But the effect is even better because, like, in Shinkenger, Karu, she's trying her best. Like, she's a genuinely good person.
Yeah.
While here with Ryuya, it's just a dick.
Yeah.
Like,
and
we don't want you as our
right.
leader. Get out!
I think it's more emotionally amazing in Shinkenger because that was the moment where they finally became like a true team. Here, it's more satisfying because Ryuya getting told to screw off is just awesome.
Oh, big facts. I definitely agree with that.
but and ironic because it's the same writer between both seasons, and she did this great twice of the whole team has like a lot of internal adversity, and then there's a moment where their red gets stripped from them and they realize that no, this is the guy we want standing next to us. And I loved it here just as much as I did in Shinkenger.
And honestly, I mean, I know that Anthony used to give Lucas credit for being the one who stands up to Alex in the Time Force equivalent, but Domon being the one to like stand up to Ryuya like that, way more epic.
I regret even saying that, to be
absolutely.
honest with you. I don't even know what I was thinking when I said that.
Hindsight's a motherfucker, isn't it?
The whole thing where they just stand up. I mean, like, and I think, like, you know, this episode really does kind of. I feel like the Time Force episode does it okay, but I feel like it's just done so much better here, where it legitimately does tackle the question, the overarching theme of this whole series, where it's like, are we doing stuff because we want to do it, or is it because it's just because there's like some like nebulous thing controlling this whole thing and they just put it in the script, and Ryuya has them legitimately questioning that, and for them to just figure out, no, we want to do this, like it perfectly tackles it, but it also kind of but it does still raise a legitimate question, like, what if Ryuya didn't intervene? Like, they would be dead, and there's nothing that could have changed that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just feel like this legitimately tackles the overarching theme of fate and destiny just in a way that I honestly cannot think. I don't think that there's any other Super Sentai that I've seen, and I've seen quite a bit of Super Sentai that have tackled an overarching theme so deeply. Shinkenger obviously did great with the character drama and everything, but the overarching theme and story, just the way that they tackle it, I don't think I've ever seen Super Sentai do something like that. Definitely not in the show era, I can tell you that for sure. But
the show era has plot. What?
Hey, some of it does have plot, Riz. Come on. But yeah, that like this is just deep stuff like that. I don't think Super Sentai has ever really managed to do since. And it works in Time Force. Time Force does it great too. I mean, they're like Time Ranger adapting this as well as it does, like, is one of the reasons why it's one of the greatest Power Ranger seasons of all time. But I just feel like this hits it very, very, very deep.
These last two episodes, I think, have put a knock on Time Force for me. Like, I think
Like,
my opinion on my opinion on Time Force has dipped because of these last two episodes. And I know that's not really fair to say to Time Force because it's still an incredible season on its own right, but when you have two things that do a similar plot line and one just does it significantly better, it makes you question how good you actually think the other one really is. in the grander scheme of the entire both shows in their entirety. But
You want to say anything, Riz?
I think y'all said everything already.
oops.
I wouldn't want to.
What do we want to give this? What do we want to give this out of 10, guys?
I think I'm also giving this a 9.5.
Yeah, I'm giving
Same
it
here.
a for sure.
9.5 for me.
All right, cool. That wraps up this. So now we have 2 episodes left, and one of them is going to be very easy to talk about. Case File 45, The End, Tomorrow's Research. This is basically a filler episode. It's meant to be a clip show episode, actually, where basically the Time Rangers they don't have enough money to pay their rent. They're behind on their rent, and they're not able to, and they're about to be evicted, and they reminisce about some of their memories that they've had over the course of the series as they try to find a way to pay their rent. Some things happen though. Like one thing that makes me like this is Domon remembers Ryuya's warning about the Grace disappearance. This is while he's on a date with Honami, and he just becomes like visibly upset and just tells Honami like, "I'm going to protect you no matter what." Pretty nice stuff. The way that they end up getting money to pay their rent is actually kind of funny. Ayase goes to Naoto and begs him for help, and then Naoto is all like, "No, I'm not going to help you." But then at the end of the episode, Naoto shows up and says, "Okay, here's a check for all your rent, and in order to earn that, I want you to clean the V-Rex." like, that was hilarious. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, it was a nice little sign of him having some kind of a soul,
Right.
behind the.
I mean, he has a soul.
He just
Not a very good one.
begrudgingly doesn't like to show
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Is this like the first time that like Super Sentai?
And here's
My bad. What were you gonna say?
no, go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say was this the first time in Super Sentai that like anybody's mentioned that that someone actually wants to clean an actual like mecha of any season?
Yeah,
Wow.
I think so. The only other time I can recall anybody doing something about cleaning the mechs was that episode of Dino Thunder where Trent joined, and then they're all like, "Oh yeah, since Trent is a newbie ranger, he has to go clean the Zords." And then Trent is all like, "But they're gigantic," and then they're like,
Right.
"Get started."
Remind me, is this also the first?
get on
Is this also? Remind me, is this the first time Naoto actually ends up in the Tomorrow Research office too?
Yes.
I think so.
I
Yeah.
think so.
That's surprising it took this long. Actually,
Is it so?
At the end of the opening credits, by the way, Naoto gets his own Time Ranger badge, which he's only going to use once to lock up one monster in the. I'm pretty sure it's the next episode.
yeah.
But yeah, I know that they made a toy that I don't think they ever made a toy for a Quantum.
Yeah,
Ranger
unfortunately
Time Force
they
badge.
didn't.
I mean,
I did
Actually,
like
yeah,
how they did that. I love how they gave him that as like a sign of respect to try to win him over, and it doesn't do anything. It just kind of makes Naoto a little bit more egotistical, which is somehow possible.
an interesting
yeah.
thing to note about this one is that this episode literally aired on December 31st, 2000. So this was the very last Super Sentai episode to air in the 20th century, and it aired on the last day in the 20th century, which that's just perfect timing. Like, what do we want to give this one out of 10, guys?
I mean, clip shows are hard. Yeah, clip shows are hard to judge because they're usually just lazy.
I want to give it a 7 just because, I mean, here's the thing. We've seen the last 2 Sentais that we've taken a look at had really terrible clip show episodes. Like, there was one, I'm not going to mention the Sentai, where they were fighting over who gets to keep the mech. And then with the Gien Ranger, it was all about them just like, oh my God, Burai's dying. This is a perfect time for us to remember all of our memories together. Like,
oh my God, I hated that so much.
Like, still not as bad as the Operation Overdrive clip show episode though, where they can't remember who has what, so they take Mac's like DVD playback memory to try and get it. Which that episode could have been avoided if everybody just had a whiteboard in the room saying, "Okay, we have this many jewels. Moltor has this. Florius has nothing. Candor and Miratrix have this." Like
That's bold of you to imply they're smart enough to do
Exactly.
that.
oh yeah, that's true.
There's your
But
first mistake.
I also give it a 7 just because I thought Domon and Honomi's moment was just genuinely nice.
Yeah, like if you remove the clip show parts of this episode, it's just like a pretty wholesome, you know.
Yeah.
So I'll give it a 7 just for those
Same
parts
here.
alone.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, that Domon's like entire sequence is why I'm gonna give it a 7. Calypso is boring. I was texting Nate complaining about it the entire time.
Yeah, I know. All right, now we're going to wrap up with case file 46, Cut Off from the Future, which is a prelude to the in-game arc, so that's why we're ending it here. So in this episode, Taku questions whether or not he's got any worth to the team because he's unable to provide them with any data regarding the Great Disappearance, which, by the way, him not having any data on the Great Disappearance is very important, as well as you guys remember in the previous one how it was established that he has no data or information on the Timefire stuff. Well, again, that's going to play a huge part in the in-game arc, and it's
Yeah.
that let's just say that it has something to do with well, no, I'm not going to spoil anything, but with that said, a big thing that happens here is that Naoto finally basically just, is able to gain full control of everything, because he's basically been kind of being all buddy with the Defense Department's head. And when when Tatsuya's father comes back, he's recovered from his injuries. He's discovered that Naoto told the Defense Department that the Londars are from the 30th century, and that leveraged them in declaring a level 3 emergency, which allows them to take full control over the City Guardians, and they give him full control to Naoto. So Naoto basically now has full control over a private army of his own. That's how insane this guy is.
This can only end badly.
It will.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys. He got power.
And a big thing here is that when the Londars of the day grows, Captain Ryuya refuses to send the time jets because he's basically like, we've already saved the 20th century, so I'm not going to intervene anymore. So Naoto has to destroy this monster by himself with the V-Rex.
Remind me, did Time Force have this? Did Time Force have the same plot element, or did they
No, for some reason, they never explain why the Time Force Rangers didn't summon the Time Force Megazord in this episode. Now, they do explain why they don't summon it in the in-game arc, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But there was no explanation in the Time Force episode here. I think it was just implying that Eric was fighting the monster one-on-one, and the Time Force Rangers were distracted by something else, so only Eric was able to fight. But yeah, that plot wasn't in Time Force.
I like it though, because it really adds like this. Okay, well now you're useless to me. I'm just gonna leave you to fend for yourself.
Yep.
Thing.
What do we think about this episode, guys? Just to wrap it up.
It's just this is just the setup to the final arc thing. There's not
Didn't
really
have
much
anything
to
really
it.
Yeah.
Big value. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like a 6.
I'll give it a 7. I'll give it a
I'm
7.
gonna
Like,
give it a 6.
yeah.
I give it a 7 too.
Okay. All right, so that wraps this up until we get to our in-game story arc. So we're going to move on to the analysis. I think we've already talked. Like we've talked enough about Gien honestly, to kind of just say that, like, I mean, he's great. I mean, I think we've all kind of established that, like, his backstory works a little bit more than Frax's. I mean, Dorniro, I mean, he's a bit more interesting, but not anything else you guys want to add about Dorniro?
Well, I did mention this when you
No,
kind of
he's still.
got up and walked away for a second or two. I said I think this kind of adds an extra layer to him where it makes him come off as more, like he's not totally evil. He genuinely made a friend. He did everything he could to help him out, and it came at a cost that he kind of regrets, and it makes him a more interesting character to me. Still not a good villain, but it makes him more interesting character.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I just wanted to go the route that he's not really evil. He just does some anti-heroic things that get in the way of the Time Rangers. Because in the end, it's pretty clear that Gien is ultimately the main villain.
Yeah.
But okay, let's just to kind of wrap. Well, of course, we'll give our closing thoughts, but let's all do our updated Ranger rankings. And I guess now that we have more on Naoto, we can include Naoto in that. So Go ahead, guys. Anybody want to go first?
Yeah, I'll do it. Domon's still number one, and just jumping ahead until the final thing, it's not going to change. He's my favorite Ranger from this season pretty easily. Ayase skyrocketed up to number 2 for me after the episodes we had for him in this. This is kind of where things get a little bit messy for me. I'm probably gonna put Tatsuya at 3 now. I think that 3-parter with Ryuya really helped his character a lot. Because I was pretty underwhelmed with him for the most part, but that did a lot for him. And then I would probably put Naoto there, and then Yuri, and then I like Shion, but he feels like he's just underutilized at this point in the show compared to everyone else.
Yeah, honestly, when I was saying that like Shion was the weakest, I might have had these last couple of episodes fresh on my mind. Where I never thought he was a bad character. I just thought that he was underused.
He might be the most likable character in the season, but in terms of like depth and everything, he's the weak link here.
Yeah. Anthony, you want to go next?
Well, I'm going to do the opposite of what Patrick did. I'm putting Ayase as my first. Just with the fact that this endgame.
Respect.
Then it's Domon. Then it's Yuri, Naoto, Tatsuya, and Shion. And I'm only putting Shion last, not because I don't like him, but because, like we all said, he feels like he's just there, there's no depth to him.
Mm-hmm.
I just find it interesting that you're putting Ayase as number 1 because you had some choice words to say about him at the end of the last match because of that one episode.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
It's amazing how much change one major story arc for a character.
I mean, look at what happened to the finale of Shinkenger with him and Takaru.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go next. So, Domon's top dog. Ain't no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
Screw all of you. Theon's still number 2. Because that character is just amazing. I don't care that he didn't have much going on in this last batch, but
I mean,
he's been solid from the beginning.
I'm not going to judge you for it. He's too likable, so if you want to put him that high, I respect it.
I mean, okay, now hang on. He's number 3. Naoto's number 2. Then he's number 3. Then after that, Ayase, then Yuri, then Tatsuya. Not because Tatsuya is bad, but because I genuinely like Yuri's story a bit better in these last couple episodes.
I'm curious now because you were kind of and when we finish this up, we're going to say like what tiers we would put these guys in among like their other like colors, but like Riz, like you were like, how would you put Tatsuya in his tier now? Because you've always been pointing it out. Like, is he still like a B?
High C, low B for me still.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
I mean, here's why, and I'll give the explanation here. Tatsuya has some good moments, but overall, I promise you, in a year, he'll be very forgettable to me. Like, when I look back at Reds, the way I kind of judge them, and this is for any Ranger really, I think about how will I look at them in a year from now. Takaru is still a character that I look fondly on, a year later?
Mm-hmm.
It's been like almost a year. Marvelous will never be anything less
That
than
part.
the best. I still very much enjoy Zio Red. Zio Red, not Zio Ranger
Yeah.
Red.
What, Joe
Duo-
Eagle or whatever his
Duo
name?
Eagle.
Yeah, Zio Eagle. Yeah, I still like him a lot. Like, he still left an impression on me.
Red Buster?
King... No.
No. Where would you put Red Buster? That's what I was asking.
Oh, okay. High B, A tier, somewhere like that. I don't know. I have to rewatch Go Buster again. It's been a while, but I know enough to know that I liked him. But I wouldn't say he's S tier.
Yeah.
But Tatsuya, like, he has some pretty good moments, but I'm worried in a year I'm gonna like forget a lot of his character development because there wasn't as much as I wanted from him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I like him, but I still think he's got nothing on Wes.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like Tatsuya is still good, but like he ultimately like it's kind of like saying technically that like Mako is the worst Shinkenger. Like she's still a great character, but like she's being completely outperformed by other great characters.
Mm-hmm.
And by no means me putting him last indicate he's a bad character.
Yeah.
It just means that I thought the others were much better characters.
Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah.
For me, I'm honestly like I was kind of I remembered how much I liked Ayase watching that story arc, so I'm still putting him as number one. And honestly, like the only Blue Ranger I would say that could be better than Ayase is probably Yanma from King Oger. That's the only guy I think who has a chance. After him, I'm gonna put Domon. He's still great. I still think Kotoha. I still kind of resonate with Kotoha, but so I'm still gonna call her number one. But he's like number two for me.
Domon's number one. Get out of here.
Oh, you're not gonna say that Luca's number one? Okay, that's interesting.
Luca is still amazing, but Domon, I mean, look, he made some big moves.
I'm putting Naoto next. He's top 3 Sixth Rangers. The only for selfish reasons, I put Boken Silver ahead of him, but I can see how people would call him better than Boken Silver. But I still think Spider Kimonos is better than him.
Spider Kimono's the best. Hands down.
Then I'll put Yuri. Still think she's great. I still think she's a great pink. Then Shion. I mean, he's a very. I'm gonna put Shion and Tatsuya. I don't know, like Shion and Tatsuya are just one of those people where I just feel like they're being outperformed by other people, even if they're still great. So that would be my final ranking. Ayase, Domon, Naoto, Yuri, Shion, Tatsuya. And that wraps it up. Anyway, so what are our closing thoughts before we prepare to enter the in-game story arc for Time Ranger, gentlemen?
Kind of hard for me to say since I've already seen it.
Yeah, me too.
Well, Riz is the only person who hasn't seen it. So
Yeah.
What do you?
Yeah,
think,
I stay true to the podcasting nature of this thing, and I don't.
Hey, I got anxious.
I did too. I
was really excited to get to the finale.
So since I'm the one that's really stayed true to it, I am very interested to see where we go next because I know what happens in Time Force.
Mhm.
So I want to see how they compare that because, again, like Nate said earlier, the finale in Time Force is probably the best that we've ever gotten out of Power Rangers. And they got some big shoes to fill, but what I've seen so far, I think they can I think they can make a similar wave, but I still have to wait and see. You know, they got to play their cards right.
All right. Well, we have 4 case files left, guys. And Patrick, Anthony, you want to say anything?
Let's do it.
I still
Let's
hate
make it so.
media, but yeah.
We can spend 20 minutes on that
Exactly.
in the next episode.
Save that in the next one, Anthony. But with that being said, little bit of an update on what we're going to be doing, guys. For those who are listening, we are going to be doing the Time Ranger in-game arc next. We're going to be doing that really quick, hopefully in a couple of days, because it's only 4 episodes. Then after that, we're going to be doing a full season review, no episode by episode, just a full season review of Power Rangers Time Force, followed by our very first Power Rangers versus Super Sentai versus. You may recall that we did one Dino Fury versus Dino Charge, where now we have finally found a Power Rangers and Super Sentai seasons where we can actually compare them. We couldn't do it with Jungle Fury in the season that shall be named, and we couldn't do it with Mighty Morphin.
Y'all fought.
And
Y'all actually thought that we could do Geki Ranger versus Jungle Fury.
That'll be over in a minute.
The freaking audacity of y'all.
I know, that could have been like a funny 5-minute video.
I do think we're going to be able to do it with Lost Galaxy and Ginga Man, but that might be tough.
Well, for Patrick, not for us, because I still have a soft spot for Lost Galaxy. That's just me.
But yeah, we are going to be doing that versus special. So we hope you guys will tune in for that. I have the scoreboard already, so we'll be able to jump into that pretty quick. And
then we also have plans to be interviewing Carl Dutton from the audio drama and Xena Media Films on their Power Rangers Rail Riders fan production. Which, Patrick, Anthony, if you haven't seen it yet, get on that.
Is it on YouTube somewhere?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Okay.
There's
link it
also
to me. Huh?
Their full episodes are on their website.
Okay.
It's like everything. YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know why. I need to watch the rest of it on their site. Watch a little bit of it.
But I gotta say,
it looks like something that may belong to Toei. So we're gonna watch it.
well, actually, no. They take actual Tokuger footage.
Yeah. Okay. So as a quick recap, for those that are not listening to the Rail Rider episodes, and for Patrick, they did a Saban. They took Sentai footage and they put it together with American original footage, and they interweaved it. And honestly, Patrick, they did better than some seasons of Power Rangers.
So it's legitimately the closest thing. So it's legitimately the closest thing we're ever going to get to a Tokuger adaptation.
Pretty much.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, just link the website to me. I'll check it out because I'm morbidly curious now. Because if you're saying that it's worth watching, then I'm gonna give it a look.
It's pretty dang good. And also listen to the audio drama. They're freaking amazing.
And we are going to be doing the audio drama once season 3 wraps up, whenever that will be.
My God. That ending of the last episode of audio drama was so good.
And we're of course going to get back to King Oger pretty soon. We're going to try to do up to episodes 40. We'll make that we'll try to do that after we finish Time Ranger. But with that said, that wraps up this podcast. We thank you guys so much for either listening to us on Spotify and iTunes or watching on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed. Leave comments down below with stuff you would like to cover, because we'll respond to your comments like on the podcast. We'll do that. If you're listening on Spotify, be sure to leave us a review. Reach out to us at animesecrets.org to give us any feedback. And that about wraps this up. You can check out our other podcast. You can check out Anime Declassified and the Jedi Squadron podcast, among all of our other podcasts. And that about wraps this up. Once again, we thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast, and we'll see you guys next time when we wrap up Time Ranger. But until that time, you guys stay safe. We love you. May the power protect you. And we got a great 2024 for you guys planned. Hope you guys will enjoy it. See you guys.